And lastly, but certainly not least, I have the pleasure of welcoming Gabe Dalparto, the Chief Executive Officer of Udacity. Udacity, an early player in offering online courses, has continued to evolve to meet the needs of the market. Gabe, I want to thank you for being with us today and joining with us. Oh, there he is, the lovely surprises with virtual events. I was like, you don't look like Gabe. That looks like my colleague, Jamie. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate your time.
Totally my pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you guys are certainly, Udacity, impressive in both the number of programs that you offer as well as the number of graduates that you can claim. But we both know sort of the real important piece to that is how a person's education and training is actually linking them to a job. So talk a little bit about the priority that you have given that and how you all do that at Udacity.
Yeah, so Udacity, we kind of think of ourselves as a talent transformation platform, and really we want to be the fastest, most effective way to get job-ready skills, right? So getting people ready to deploy their skills on the job day one, and we to do that we really start with building our programs around a job resume. We start with, if you want to be an Android app developer, what does your resume look like? And then how do we actually get you skills building those programs and doing the work so that you're not just having watched a video or taken a quiz, but you've actually built an Android app as an example. So really I think from our perspective, the critical thing is understanding how do we attach the critical needs of a business or a consumer, like where do they want to go with their career, what outcomes do you want, and then how do you build programs from scratch with that in mind.
And talk a little bit about your business partnerships. So I mean, you obviously that is the thing I knew about Udacity before I knew much was partnerships with real employers, right? Meeting their needs directly, working with them to make sure that what you're delivering is what they need. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, and we really are built with industry for industry, and maybe an example would be helpful. We work with Shell, and Shell is a very large oil company. Energy company, and Shell came to us and said, we operate in 70 countries. We have a small central decision science group that's just not capable of servicing the needs, the data needs of 70 countries. We need to get machine learning and data science out into the field. We have an asset, which is a bunch of geological, civil, structural engineers. They know math, they don't understand data science. Can you work with us to get those guys skilled up? So they can deploy those skills out into the field. And so we created a custom learning track for that target audience. We got them trained on data science, got them trained on machine learning. They went out into the field globally. Some of the first graduates from our programs then took those skills, built a machine learning model that took live streaming sensor data from every rig across the planet. And they were able to predict mechanical failure 2 weeks in advance, get the equipment out into the field ahead of time, avoid outages, and every one of those avoided outages saved them $2 million, $100 million to date. And so for us, success looks like that. It's identifying what are the mission critical things a business needs to do to be successful, where you don't have the talent to achieve that goal. How do we create custom programs with you, deliver those programs, and actually measure the ROI impact?
So you may have just answered this question for me, but I'm curious if you'd say something else, which is why should employers be thinking about reskilling and upskilling as sort of a critical business strategy? I mean, the ROI being one right there. What else?
Well, if you take a big view of this, $1.8 trillion is going to be spent this year on digital transformation. And really what companies and enterprises are trying to do is to transform themselves to compete in a technology forward world and not get disrupted by other countries, not get disrupted by other companies. Of that $1.8 trillion of digital transformation spend, $1 trillion will be wasted. And the number one reason it is wasted is because enterprises don't have the talent to implement those transformations. In fact, our data shows 83% of the global 2000 say they have a major skills gap, and 70% of them say they can't innovate because they don't have the talent to do it. And the hardest to fill areas are things like AI, machine learning, data science, cybersecurity, cloud computing, autonomous systems, software development. These are all, broadly speaking, digital transformation areas, and that's what's between them and success. And if I was to give, a piece of advice to a company of how to deal with this, is don't think of this as an employee benefit, right? If you do that, it won't work. What we see is very low adoption of employee-driven, reskilling and upskilling, very low graduation rates, and it's almost impossible to tie to ROI. Think about this and do what you do as a normal company, and make this an initiative and make this a strategy and treat it programmatically. Tie this to mission-critical initiatives that you're struggling to staff. Build programs to specifically deliver the job skills you need to achieve those mission-critical objectives. And then, work with someone like Udacity to help identify talent within your organization who can be successful at upskilling and achieving those standards. Onboard them, drive them through in a very programmatic approach, get them graduated and deployed in their jobs so you can actually measure the impact. And if you take that approach, you typically get like 80% graduation and success rates by being, very direct and programmatic about it.
I mean, you're speaking our language, Gabe. I mean, the way you were just talking about it is exactly how we have been really approaching this with our chamber partners, economic development agency partners over the years, is to really think about their talent the way they think about any other piece of their business. Really, it is part of their business strategy. And, it's interesting though, because it feels like it's sort of novel for many companies to think about it that way, and to think about training as something other than an employee benefit. So I love how you sort of framed that. So we've talked in the past about this issue of digital skills and the need for digital skills, but it's not just the tech industry, obviously, that is in need of all of the things you just said: data scientists, coders, cybersecurity analysts. How should the non-tech industry leaders be thinking about digital skills and their workforce?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, if you're Google or you're Facebook, you don't have that much of a problem recruiting top talent. Like, you're an extremely attractive employer. You can pay more than anybody else on the planet. Those guys are fine. Yeah. If you're PNC Bank or you're Anglo-American Mining or you're like, a less sexy organization, it is very, very hard to fill that talent. We just signed a major US bank who had posted 150 data scientist roles, and 6 months into recruiting for them, they had hired 8, right? And so really, this is not, in fact, this in a way is not at all for tech companies. They tend to do okay. It's everybody else that's struggling to fill these roles. People like, the automotive industry is being disrupted in a massive way by companies like Tesla, and auto manufacturers thought for years that it was all about the hardware. And it turns out it's not about the hardware in the future. It's really about the software and that, infotainment system and environment and navigation and all this other stuff and self-driving. And so every, category, every industry is going through these really sea change moments where what they thought was true is no longer true. And it's very hard if you're not one of these top tier tech companies to find the talent to do it. So you just got to manufacture the talent in-house.
So let's shift a little bit, just thinking about the last year. How has the pandemic changed the partnerships that you are seeing or developing with companies? Has it changed? Has it changed what they need or what they need from you in terms of skills and training delivery?
So completely things are accelerating, and a majority of companies when surveyed recently, said they are accelerating their investments in digital transformation, right? So companies are leaning in even harder. And, people with the skill sets of the past are being kind of pushed to the side and being laid off, and people with the skill sets of the future are in incredibly high demand. The problem is there's just not people there. And so, many, like if you take any of these areas we've been talking about, the demand for those jobs over, the 4 years ending 2020 doubled, right, over a 4-year period. The demand from 2020 to 2021 in 1 year doubled again. And so you already can't hire these people, and it's accelerating and it's getting worse. And everybody's going after the same small set of employees. And I had a conversation with the chief security officer of a major bank the other day, and she said to me, it is literally an all-out war for cybersecurity talent, and we just can't hire it, and so we have to make it. Right? It's a lot of pain, but what I can tell you, and I can tell your listeners, is this is very solvable. It's very doable. Like, we do this every day. We work with, large employers transforming their organizations. You just have to do it in a very programmatic approach, and it's completely doable.
So you referenced, employees with the skills of the past, and we're fighting for the limited number with the skills of the future. How do we help those with the skills of the past get to the skills that you're talking about? Is it a PR issue? Is it that we gotta help them understand what is available to them? And I know you're also talking to policymakers about things that they can be doing. Like, what can we do?
Yeah, and then obviously you don't start with taking a call center up and making them a machine learning engineer. Like, that's a pretty long move. But there's a lot of people in your organizations that are quite bright, and probably the single most important factor to success in getting someone into an entry-level tech area is really just tenacity. Like, who wants it bad and who's going to put the energy and time into doing it? And from there's entry-level positions in cybersecurity and cloud and programming and data. So many people in your organization can climb up that first rung, and then from there they can just build their skill sets. Now, if you want to create a machine learning engineer, you're probably going to take someone who is maybe a software engineer, or someone who was maybe in the Shell example, a geological civil engineer. Someone has pretty good math skills, and then you put them on a program to kind of get them up the ladder. And it's not going to be overnight, but it can be pretty fast to get them functional, and then continue to invest in their training to get them state of the art. So all of this is taking a programmatic approach of really assessing and understanding the skill sets you have, assessing what you need, and then doing that mapping. And that's really what we do. Like, we help our clients do the assessments to figure out where people are, figure out what the next logical step in their career is, how that aligns to your open roles, and get them there.
Do you ever do this with maybe nonprofit organizations? I'm thinking about a question in the chat from an audience member about underserved or underrepresented communities. Like, how to provide, how to get access to those communities, to the types of things you're talking about.
So that's literally our fastest growing segment right now. And we are working with nonprofits and employer CSR programs. So if you think about employers, they often have a pretty substantial budget on how do we invest in underrepresented communities and kind of make an impact. Most of that money is wasted because there's really no great ways to show impact. But if you start to work with a company like Udacity and create scholarship programs and be really thoughtful about how you can do it, you can get really good graduation rates. And we show that within 12 months, 70% of people who graduate our programs have gotten a promotion, have gotten a raise, or have some other really positive career outcome. So if you think about just the accountability of that and the direct tie to human welfare and moving people along in their careers and getting underrepresented groups access to high-paying tech-forward careers and a career ladder and not just some dead-end job, it's really impactful, and that is our fastest-growing segment.
Is there a place where folks who might be interested in learning more about that or other pieces is it just udacity.com or?
Or have anyone send me an email, gabe@udacity.com, and I'll make sure you get to the right person.
Okay, perfect. So I want to ask another question. So one of your, I think, signature pieces is sort of the project-based learning piece of what you offer, which is something that I think is often missing. We love to see it. How does that work with online learning? And how does it sort of differ from sort of other similar, I guess, your competitors maybe?
Yeah. So, I think we really are the only ones that start with an employable resume and work backwards. And I like to say you don't learn karate by watching Bruce Lee movies, and you don't learn machine learning by watching someone talk about machine learning. You learn by doing, and not just little coding snippets, but like really doing it, taking software, applying it to massive data sets, applying machine learning algorithms, and delivering an outcome that someone would actually employ. And in our AI for Healthcare nano degree, your first project, you teach AI how to recognize pneumonia off a chest x-ray, which is applicable to COVID diagnostic and treatment. In our Android app developer nano degree, to graduate that program, you have to build an Android app, upload it to the Play Store, have it accepted by Google and published, right? And then we review it and make sure it works and it achieves the criteria. In our self-driving car engineer course, to graduate from that course, you have to literally upload your code into Udacity's self-driving car, which we have. And using your code, it drives around a course, stops when it goes on green, it doesn't hit stuff, so you get a job day one at Tesla. So really everything we build is around hands-on learning and execution in a pretty deep way. And that's truly how you learn. You learn by doing, you don't learn by watching videos. We also have a worldwide network of experts, so then when you get stuck on a problem, we can literally 24/7 at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning, get you an answer to your coding question, or get you line by line code reviews of one of those projects in under 3 hours, 24/7. So it's a combination of those deep project-based learning skills tied to real outcomes someone would employ and use in their day-to-day job, and that supported approach with our worldwide network of experts.
So I should have asked this at the beginning, but I want our audience to know just how deep you guys go. I mean, you're all over the world, right? I mean, is there any place you're not in?
We've got students in 240 countries, we work with businesses all over the planet. The United States is less than half of our revenue. We're really a substantial presence in Europe, throughout the Middle East. We have presence in Latin America and in Asia. So we're definitely a global platform. We work with employers all over the world, and really we're trying to find a way to bridge people from the past to the future. And we very much look forward to working with employers. We also work with nations to reskill their populations. We work with nonprofits to achieve their goals. And really the success for us is people. It's not that someone graduates from programs. Success is when they get a new job, they get a promotion, they deliver value for a client, and have a better and more meaningful life.
Well, thank you. So I think that's a great way to end. And I want to just say thank you. And we, look forward to continued conversations with you and your team and ways that we can either bring our employer network to you or our chamber network to you, and ways in which we can partner, because I think we are aligned in those similar goals. So thank you so much for being here today, Gabe. Really appreciate you.
It was a true pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.